Hello everyone, my name is Kathy Loughlin and this is my colleague Barry McWilliams from the Operational Excellence team at InvestNI. Thank you for participating on our webinar today. The presentation video will run for around 20 minutes, then we'll move on to our Q&A session. If you would like to submit a question, you can do this using the chat function. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the 6-week Planning for Improvement webinar. My name is Barry McWilliams and I am an Operational Excellence Coach working as part of the Operational Excellence Solutions team. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way we go about transforming our products and services. This webinar will look at how short-term projects, taking 6 weeks, can offer sustainable progress which is also rapid enough to keep pace with a fast-changing world. We'll start by looking at how we see the world now, with challenges that seem unique and sometimes overwhelming, and how best to work on what we can control to improve our ability to cope. There are elements of 6-week planning which borrow from project management. We'll look at the similarities and differences there. We'll also take a deeper dive into how to lay out your first 6-week plan and look through a worked example. Finally, we will summarize the key parts of what this webinar has covered, finishing with some information about InvestNI and what support we can offer you. This quotation from Andy Grove comes to mind in times of crisis, though it helps to add some context to what bad could really mean. Coincidentally, the year that Andy Grove became CEO of Intel, 1987, saw the first use of the acronym VUCA, then used to describe the international relations at the end of the Cold War. Volatile situations are unexpected or unstable, and we don't know how long they will last. The difficulties experienced in some supply chains in the early days of lockdown were mainly due to a lack of ability to cope with high volatility in demand. Uncertain situations present either insufficient information for decision-making or perhaps uncertainty as to which information to use in coming to a decision. When it comes to motivating people to get things done, you need to appear decisive. The challenge is how to acknowledge uncertainty while grasping the nettle of sometimes difficult decisions. Complex situations involve a large number of interconnected parts that each introduce a number of variables to the situation. Your company has finite resources, money, people, time, to deal with complexity. A more helpful way to think of the line, "Bad companies are destroyed by crises," is to say that the breadth and depth of the complexity can become so great that it simply cannot be survived. In ambiguous situations, reality seems hazy, and there's confusion around cause and effect. Experimentation is necessary in order to determine the best way forward, and no path is either absolutely good or absolutely bad. It is with VUCA in mind that this webinar will offer a way to make progress 6 weeks at a time and allow visibility and involvement of people at all levels in achieving the vital goal. There are two main types of works which the 6-week planning approach can be used for. The first is projects, say 6 months or more in duration. Traditionally, these are fully realized before the benefits of the project can be taken advantage of. Cost overruns may not be obvious until it's too late, and delays can prove even more financially damaging with the inability to use the benefits of the project hitting the business as usual. Breaking the project down into 6-week stages could allow the benefits to be released sooner, as each stage is complete, and will make project performance against cost and time more visible and easier to correct before it's too late. The 6-week view can be very effectively applied to standalone improvement initiatives. These could include the introduction of a new process, method, or product. The goal could be the reorganization of workspace or teams, or the reduction of rework, non-value adding time, or time from work completion to payment received. When preparing to think about what to focus our first 6-week plan on, it helps to take a step back and reflect on where we focus our energy today. We have a wide range of concerns, for example, time waiting for payment for the goods or services we provide, time spent on non-value adding tasks, reworking products that have not been made right first time, and build to shipping turnaround time, as well as other relevant but more abstract concerns like the final Brexit deal, whether a coronavirus vaccine will be available soon, or perhaps exchange rates. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey suggests we could separate the things in which we have no particular mental or emotional involvement by creating a circle of concern. Looking at the things we might place in our circle of concern, we start to notice there are a mix of things. Some we can act on, some we cannot. We can put the ones we can act on in a smaller, enclosed circle, the circle of influence. Here we can see where the earlier mentioned range of concerns might be placed, according to our ability to act on them. You can tell a lot about your own level of proactivity by determining which circle you tend to focus most of your energy in. The opposite of a proactive focus is a reactive focus. Examples of reactive focus are firefighting, applying sticking plasters to problems rather than permanent fixes, blaming and accusing people, and pulling decisions up the chain from people lower in the organization. This routine rating of the circle of concern empowers it to control you more and more and causes your circle of influence to shrink. It also effectively eliminates your ability to anticipate looming challenges. We can consider the crisis Andy Grove referred to as a sudden and wide-ranging increase in complexity. Companies go bad by dwelling in the reactive focus mode, while the complexity floods in around them. Proactive companies focus their energy in the circle of influence, working on things they can act on. They think, we need to cope with the world as it is now, rather than hope that the old normal comes back soon. That might not come until next year, or 5, or even 10 years. Why wait? These are the great companies Andy Grove refers to. They acknowledge the reality and they do what they can. This way, their circle of influence grows. Here are 5 things to think about if you want to do the same. Know your domain of competence and stay within it. Start with things that you would fix, that you could fix. As far as possible, restrict your efforts to what's within your circle of influence. Agree your goal together with the whole team, or clearly communicate the need. And keep repeating the message and proving the need every day. This is where the 6-week planning approach belongs, in the heart of the circle of influence. We mentioned earlier that one type of work you can apply the 6-week planning approach to is projects. So, what is a project? Projects have a defined start and end. They sit outside the business as usual, and they have some form of transformational effect on how you do the business as usual. A project focuses an organized group of people on a specific outcome which is agreed before commencement and defined in terms of specific, tangible deliverables. Resources, money, and people's time are often restricted. When the outcome is delivered, projects have common features, but each is unique with its own specific set of activities. A 6-week plan is executed alongside or as part of business as usual. It happens in line with regular activity, while bringing a transformative effect which may increase output, reduce rework, and so on. When you agree your goal, write it down, justify it to yourselves, and communicate clearly and regularly with the whole team, particularly the frontliners. These questions can be asked of a project, but we will apply them here to our 6-week plan. Are the 6-week plan's objectives specific and tangible? What will the 6-week plan do, and what will it not do? How would you know that the objective of the 6-week plan was reached? Have you briefly documented what the 6-week plan needs to deliver, and has the team signed up to this? On first inspection, do the timescales and resources of this 6-week plan look realistic alongside existing commitments to business as usual? And is your team working together productively, and does everyone know what they're expected to deliver? The best way to get better at operating the 6-week planning approach is to continue and run them in series, taking lessons learned forwards, and even operating 2 or more 6-week plans in parallel when confidence and familiarity grows. When developing your first 6-week plan, you must start with the goal. What is it that you want to achieve? This then allows the direction of challenge to be seen. You must grasp your current condition, then establish short-term target conditions, then proceed quickly by experimentation through the system of weekly review. Determine the direction. It might be that you want to achieve £400,000 worth of sales, an inventory level of less than £50,000, or a reduced lead time of 3 days. You must grasp the crucial facts and take a trust but verify approach. Take your team's word, but go and see for yourself as well. What are the top 2 or 3 facts or measures you need to know about the situation? Gather the information and agree how to visually represent this. A large sheet on a meeting room wall, corridor, or perhaps an electronic dashboard, but display it clearly so people can see the situation. We need to see how we are getting on as we approach our target condition, but also we need to see quickly what the effect of a change has been. Short-term target conditions, set weekly, allow us to break the plan down into weekly sections and also to include various actions from all of the team. An approach you can use to guide your overall activity for the week is the Big 3. These can also be called wins. What's important now? Individuals can also define their own weekly Big 3. A short daily team meeting will help coordinate and optimize your efforts. Hazards will become obvious as we work through the weeks, but the daily and weekly review will enable us to think on our feet as they reveal themselves to us. Experiment. Testing the unknown territory, but applying method and recording learnings. Daily meeting. What is the current situation? What do we need to do next? And please, don't wait for the meeting in order to have discussions and solve problems. These activities should take place during the day outside the meeting. Next, we'll look at how the 6-week planning approach can be applied to an example from my own personal experience. A plastic parts manufacturer. Our company makes 25 unique extruded products run during an average week on one production line. Let's look again at the circle of influence and circle of concern, but this time showing concerns affecting our company. Being a proactive company, we'll choose something from the circle of influence. Time taken to perform changeovers. Remembering our 6-week plan guide questions, let's see how our changeover improvement initiative stacks up. On the objective, it's important to relate this in the right way to the different teams. Operators see minutes spent per day doing the changeover, not percentages. Likewise, the planners see the number of changes actually done versus number planned. When thinking about what the 6-week plan will do, you're helping develop the clear message to be communicated. When thinking about what it will not do, you'll help the team to realize that there's no silver bullet, cure-all solution that's going to wash away all their pet hates about changeovers. You need to know how you'll know the object of your 6-week plan is no longer a problem, so that you can stop work and switch it back to monitoring mode as part of business as usual. Then you can ensure that other challenges benefit from this 6-week planning approach. Be clear about the resources you're putting in, and don't forget a meeting room and an area for visual display. Finally, the plan owner keeps communicating the message every day and takes benefit from the result of all the good work. In order to reduce to the required level, the goal, we must close the gap, which is currently 1.2%. The foundation of the whole approach is the weekly team meeting. This is where the information on the chosen indicators is shared, and the output of the meeting is the big three, or the wins, for the next week. The first layer built on this foundation is the Tier 1 daily production team meeting. The 1.2% target here is referred to in terms of minutes, 95 minutes, which can give the operators something they can hope to influence through their actions on a daily basis. The second layer is the Tier 2 daily operational team meeting. Here, the 1.2% target is referred to in terms of number of changeovers actually carried out versus the plan. Again, this is something this team can realistically influence day to day. The trends observed weekly bring these daily indicators together and can also compare time taken per changeover for a given product or shift team. Through all of the efforts made in the 6 weeks, it's important to use the foundation of the weekly team meeting to ensure problems are solved at the level at which they occur wherever possible, and communication and coaching is used to bring solutions out, thus developing people and increasing involvement. Operational Excellence Team webinars are available for concentrated support on these areas: daily management and kata coaching. Finally, to build forwards for your next 6-week plans, keep reflecting all the way through on what you'd like to be better next time out. In conclusion, 6-week planning is about working on what you would fix that you could fix. It's about expanding your circle of influence to become more in control of your future. 6-week planning works in line with your business as usual, helping you to improve continuously, but it can also be applied to break down a larger project or even an annual or strategic plan into manageable chunks. Together with our webinars on daily management and kata coaching, 6-week planning can lead your business on the journey to real cultural change and sustained improvement over time. Operational excellence solutions can help improve the productivity, profitability, and competitiveness of your business through a wide range of principles, tools, and techniques. Whether it's practical problem solving or workflow improvement you need assistance with, or strategy development and alignment, our tailored solution can help you. If you would like help or advice on anything that we have covered throughout this webinar, or for further information and support, please email opexquery@investni.com. That concludes the InvestNI 6-week Planning for Improvement webinar. Thank you for watching.
Before we move on to our Q&A session, there will be an evaluation question on screen. We would appreciate if you would take the time to answer the question to provide us with some feedback. Okay, Barry, so our first question is, We have many problems to work on. How can I decide which is worth applying this approach to?
It's worth thinking about that idea of the circle of influence and the circle of concern. So if you're thinking about a problem that you're going to work on, first of all, decide for yourself whether it really exists in the circle of influence that you have. And that would be a good first guide. If you're concerned that something, you feel that something should be within your influence and it isn't at the moment or isn't yet, then by continuing to work on things that you do definitely have some influence on, you can grow that. And so that might offer some guidance, but the idea is simply to get started. And if you don't have what you feel is a worthy enough problem at the very outset, then try it on something that it doesn't matter whether it's something that you're pretty sure will work. It's about gaining confidence using the tool, really.
Okay. When you describe the FEUCA, you reference experimentation. Have you any suggestions as how to do this effectively?
Well, first of all, I could mention the fact that towards the end of the webinar, I mentioned the daily management routines webinar done by my colleague David Greer, and there's another one called Kata Coaching or Toyota Kata, which is coming up on the 8th of June with Simon McKee, and there's a bit more about experimentation in that one. What you're really trying to do with an experiment is to follow a pattern of identify the process that you've got a problem with, whatever it happens to be, come up with something to change, and to observe and record and reflect on what influence that change has had, if any. If we have the luxury, which is rare in business, to change just one thing at a time, then you've got a much better chance of finding what it was that was really causing the problem in the first place. But it's okay to change 2 or 3 things as long as you have a good idea of what's underlying that. If you don't have the luxury of being able to change one thing at a time, so that goes back to the PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle as well, that we'll talk about quite a lot as OpEx coaches. But in summary, with this webinar, it sits quite well as a companion to the daily management routines and Toyota Kata.
Okay. What is the difference between the daily meetings and the weekly meetings?
So really the weekly meeting is the foundation of the whole approach, because over the course of a week, you're likely to have seen all of the different varying conditions that you're going to encounter. You're likely to, anyway, you're much more likely over a week than, say, a day. In the example used to illustrate the approach, perhaps you have a line which has 25 different products that it can make, but maybe only 8 have run in a particular day. So over the course of a week, you're likely to see all 25 or close to it, and you'll get a much more representative picture of how things are really going. Also, you might have a sudden, unexpected and lengthy interruption on one day, and if you were judging things and planning actions based on that one day, it might not actually help the overall underlying problem. So a week is the best foundation to make sure you're heading in the right direction.
Okay. What does it mean to solve the problem at a level which it occurs?
So solving the problem at the level at which it occurs means that, let's say someone comes to you and someone in your team comes to you maybe 5 minutes before you're about to head out the door to a meeting and you can't be late for it. And the temptation is they'll give you some information about the problem that they've just encountered, they've just seen. And the temptation that you'll have will be to revert to your experience and knowledge and say, do this or do that. It's about to try and encourage solving the problem at the level at which it occurs. It's to ask the question of that person, what would be most useful for you? I've got 3 minutes, or can we walk and talk about this? Or what would you do if I wasn't here? And sometimes what you're trying to encourage is that they come up with the solution themselves, but they've got to have the confidence that you're going to let them try their solution, and you've got to know when to intervene if it's relevant. So it's about trying to make sure that those problems are resolved at the lowest possible level, because that's where the most experience resides.
Okay. I'm a small business. How many tiered meetings should I think about?
So really, the tiered meetings can apply to any business, and the reason why is because common sense comes in at the point where if you say to yourself, I've got 4 people in total in the business, or I've got 10 people in total in the business, and let's say it's easy to see where everyone is and to reach everyone within the one space and within the one room, then a single tier might be sufficient. It's about common sense, and it's about doing what works for you. Obviously, larger businesses and as it's almost like the levels become more abstract and they get further and further away from the point at which the problem is occurring, they've got to know whether their level of intervention is required. Hence, that's really the reason for the extra tiers above that. But certainly, if it's a small business, then you could take it as being a single tier.
Okay, I think you might have already addressed some of this, but I'll ask the question anyway. So some of your messages seem to be closely linked to the previous daily management routines webinar. Is this intentional?
Oh, for sure, yes. I mean, it's quite possible to start with daily management routines, or to start with the 6-week planning approach, or to start with Toyota Kata. There are so many different individual pieces within the whole operational excellence offering that you could begin with. But it certainly sits reasonably close, because it talks about the same sort of things to do with the big 3, sometimes called what's important now, or wins in some business, and how they apply to you as an individual if you want to prioritize your work and check that it's relevant to the challenge that you've picked, your team's work, or the weekly review in terms of its own wins. So there are certain intentional links across those 3, and also to problem solving, because problem solving is we're all either involved in a problem, we've just solved one, or we're heading into one, and we have a webinar there with our colleague Jeff Crawford, which covers that.
Okay, thank you, Barry. That's all the questions addressed. If you'd like any further information, please contact our OpEx query inbox. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to participate on our 6-week planning improvement webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.